to be introducing those activities to us is the new Director of Forensics from Azusa Pacific University. This is Amy Judd. Good morning. I get to introduce two of my favorite events, informative and persuasive speaking. A couple things that make these two events similar are they're both speeches that are researched, organized, and then memorized before the person comes up to deliver them. The person delivers the same speech over and over again throughout the competitive year, making changes as we go along, but it's pretty much the same basic speech. So you get to really refine it and spend a lot of time on it. These speeches have to be under 10 minutes. There is a time limit on them. But let's deal first with the informative speaking. Informative is where you take something that the audience might or might not know about. You could take something as bizarre as nanotechnology was a big thing a couple years ago. Not many people knew what that was, so an informative would be explaining to the audience something new. It can also be taking something that has been around for a while, but we might not know much about. For example, bacteria in your bathroom. You're familiar with your bathroom, but you might not know what's in there. An informative will be taking something and giving a new angle on it, giving new information about it. And the focus of informative is you have to make it really, really interesting. So, our informative speaker today is Nicole Costa from Moorpark College, and her presentation, the informative, she received 2 major awards in addition to her awards throughout the year. She was a bronze medalist at the 5 Pi National Championship Tournament, and she also received a gold medal at the California Community College Forensics Associate State Championship, also known as CCCFA. So please join me in welcoming Nichol Costa.
She's sitting at a bar, praying that the guy in leather pants and unbuttoned polyester shirt doesn't come over and talk to her. He's everything she despises in the club scene. But before she can get up and run to the nearest exit, he's there. Then, the strangest thing starts to happen. In the midst of all the cheesiest pickup lines ever, she actually begins to fall for him. There's something in the back of her mind screaming, "No!" But she just feels like she can trust him. A lot. Across the bar, his friends are waiting to see if it works. And as they realize that the most improbable of miracles is occurring, she's actually leaving with him. They too begin to spray on the magic cologne and head out looking for their unsuspecting victims, a pack of drooling hyenas on the hunt. Sound improbable? Downright scary? Well, thank God this could never happen. Well, maybe you better pray that it couldn't, because the hormone oxytocin makes it more than possible. Oxytocin first gained fame in 1955, when, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, Vincent Duvernay won the Nobel Prize for his work on the hormone as a pregnancy aid. But 1955? Please, isn't that a little old for an informative topic? Perhaps if the June 1st, 2005 issue of the journal Nature had it noted, that scientists in Zurich, Switzerland, discovered that this old news hormone caused people to trust strangers implicitly. So much so, they became willing to give away all their money just by selling the hormone. Okay, it probably shouldn't take long to make a list of people that we wouldn't want to get their hands on this stuff. But before you go looking for your own personal supply of oxytocin in hopes of, well, filling your own fantasy there, mine has Johnny Depp written all over it. We need to first look at its discovery and how it works, then explore its current applications, and finally look at its potential uses and abuses, such as spraying on my judges. In nature, according to the journal Nature, oxytocin is triggered by a range of stimuli, including breastfeeding, sex, and chocolate. See, the connection makes sense now. And is known to be important in the formation of social ties, such as mating pairs or pair-offspring bonds. While the June 2nd, 2005 issue of Scientific American adds, the hormone oxytocin in non-human mammals is strongly linked to social attachment. Not surprisingly, therefore, women produce far more oxytocin than men. and the August 30th, 2005 issue of the London Independent argues that this may even explain the differences in our responses to stress. Researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles discovered that because of their production of the hormone, women tend to seek out nurturing relationships during times of stress, whereas men enact the stereotypical fight or flight response. In 1953, while working at Cornell University's Medical College, Duvigneau was able to reproduce his hormones synthetically, a discovery which earned him the Nobel Prize just 2 years later. The journal Nature continues, the synthetic hormone is now routinely used to begin or continue labor, to control bleeding following delivery, and to stimulate the secretion of breast milk. Yet, before he dismissed this saying, I'm not pregnant, or nursing, or merely male, there are a number of other uses of oxytocin hitting the shelves today. The June 4th, 2005 issue of Science News reported on a study done at the University of Zurich, which revealed that this hormone can make people trust you. They discovered this using an investment experiment. The June 13th, 2005 issue of Time explained the details of the experiment. Subjects were paired up. One man in each pair was randomly assigned to play the role of the investor, while the other the role of the trustee. Each participant received 12 tokens, valued at 32 cents each, and redeemable at the end of the experiment. The investor in each pair decided how many tokens to cede to the trustee. Both participants sitting face to face knew that this experiment could quadruple their investment. Among the investors who inhaled oxytocin, about half gave all of their tokens to the trustees, while most of the rest contributed a majority of their tokens. In contrast, only 1/5 of investors who inhaled the placebo spray forked over all their tokens. Oxytocin influenced only the investors. A subsequent experiment confirmed the findings of the Swiss researchers. WebMD argued on June 1st, 2005. In the second experiment, the trustees weren't always trustworthy. They could break the rules and pocket some of the investor's cash. The investor had no way to know in advance what kind of trustee he was dealing with. The June 6, 2005 issue of the journal Chemistry and Industry continues. Investors who inhaled oxytocin were still more trusting than those who got the placebo. The effect does have its limitations, however. BBC News reported on June 1st, 2005, when trustees were replaced by a computer, the oxytocin effect was no longer seen on the investors. This hormone only works with people. Trusting objects is just not possible. These tests clearly show that for the hormone to work, it has to be with a living, breathing human being. And as you would expect, a company has found a way to make money off this hormone. Enter Liquid Trust, produced by Vero Labs. According to their website, this product is being sold online at a very reasonable price of $49.99 for a 2-month supply. So, how does Liquid Trust work? Just spray it on. Simple as that. You can even wear it with your daily perfume or cologne. Liquid Trust is odorless. Once you spray, then people will just start to trust you. There's even a money-back guarantee on this product. If you're not completely satisfied, you are entitled to a full refund. Guarantees include, you will close more deals. People will find you more attractive. You will gain more respect, and your employer will value you more. Sounds like a wonder drug to me. Or as WebMD says, it sounds like something straight out of a fairy tale. A potion that makes people trust others more than they normally would? Scary, huh? Lao Tzu argued in 2500 BC, trust is power. Well, now we can all have power in the palm of our hands. Or more literally, the nape of our necks. But before you go running out to buy this, researchers caution that the potential uses and abuses of this drug are staggering. On the plus side, oxytocin may be used to help improve the lives of people affected with social disorders, such as autism or social phobia. A report in the June 1st, 2005 issue of the National Geographic posits, these findings have important implications for the study of conditions in which trust is diminished or augmented. Marcus Heinrich, leader of the research team in Zurich, adds, currently, we are working on a number of oxytocin administration and cognitive behavior therapy for the treatment of social phobia. Paul Zak, a professor of neuroeconomics at Moorpark College, underscored to NBC News on June 1st, 2005, oxytocin reduces the anxiety associated with interacting with strangers. With this understanding, we can better treat social phobias, modify behavior in criminals, and design workplaces that raise interpersonal trust. We still do not fully understand why we would trust when there is no reason to do so, but we do know that this hormone works. Unfortunately, oxytocin's new uses has its fair share of detractors. Undoubtedly, some of you may have already considered the possibility that it may be misused. ABC observed on June 2nd, 2005, it could be a criminal's dream drug. A hormone that makes people trust you? Honestly, the thought of trust in a bottle is not the most settling thought. How easily can trust be manipulated into something bad? Dr. Damasio of the University of Iowa College of Medicine cautioned ABC News, some may worry about the prospect that political operators would generously spray the crowd with oxytocin at rallies of their candidates. This is only the beginning of things. The Chicago Tribune lamented on June 4th, 2005, if it really works, the potential for misuse of a trust drug like oxytocin is almost limitless. Shady car dealers could pump it into their showrooms, casino owners could spike their martinis with it, pickup artists could use it as cologne, and God only knows what a debater might do with it. Okay, that wasn't the joke, that was me. Fortunately, by looking at the discovery of the drug as well as its current and potential uses, we see there may be a balance to potential abuses. However, in the meantime, if you're at a bar and someone comes up to talk to you and you feel this strange need to trust them against your better judgment, grab fast.
Very nice. A couple things that I want to point out. She took a topic that has been around for, well, since humans have existed, and yet there's new information coming out, new uses of it. That's a great choice of an informative topic. Couple things. First of all, how did she organize her informative? Anyone catch her main points? She started off with how it works, basically orienting us to oxytocin. Then she said there are new uses, so she's saying this is how it's being used now, the potential for it. And then she gave some cautions, saying that this is not just necessarily a wonder drug, it also does have some potential misuses as well. So organizing your informative and your persuasive as well in a very clear structure is very important, and you have to tell your audience how you're structuring it several times. Another thing you might have noticed is her delivery. She's very controlled, not flashing her hands all over, not pacing a lot, great eye contact, and she did the walk. The walk is you start in the middle, and you go over to your first point. You want to do the demonstration?
First point, second point, go back to the middle. Third point, go over the side. And then back over here. Finished.
You will see the walk in every one of the platform speeches. The reason for that is it helps your audience to visually separate the main points of your speech. You want to help your audience in any way you can to help them remember and understand how it's broken up. So any questions that you might have? What questions came up? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about the way that the speech was organized. Like, I was thinking, do you first come up with the main points and then research? Or do you research and then based on the research you come up with the points that you want to talk about? That's the first.
How I do is I research, and then based on that I write an outline, and then from there I find my main points.
Okay.
Organize it that way.
There are some formats that are sort of standard, sort of how it works, new ways that it's being used, and then the cautions cautions with it. But there are other kind of standard formats that you can use, but there's room for creativity as well. Good question. What else?
When do you think is the best time to add the little jokes? And
When do you think is the best time to add jokes is the question.
At least in this speech, I found that in the intro and then in the conclusion were the best, because you want to keep your 3 points clearly defined and you don't want to mix it up with jokes. So in the intro, I think in the intro and the conclusion is best. right though.
There are some speeches that are focused more heavily on humor, but keep in mind, anytime you can get your audience to laugh along with you, it can break down some boundaries that they might have. So it creates more of a connection with your audience. So humor can be very effective. What else? Other questions? Yeah.
How did you find a topic?
I found this topic in Newsweek. You just, like, what I do is I skim through, like, Newsweek and Time and all those really boring magazines. Sorry, spiders. And you look through, like, the new technologies and, like, this one was called, like, Trust Me Hormone. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? And it turned out to be really cool. So that's how I find it.
Find something that's interesting to you and start looking into it, and it might have a lot of potential. So another question up here? Yeah.
Do you ever use visual aids?
Actually, I had visual aids for my speech, for this speech, and my coach and I agreed that we never really liked them. We just had them, so I had a visual aid. And they didn't add much to the speech, so I decided not to bring them, but I had them.
If you have something that's very visual, oxytocin is not very visual. If you have something that's really complex and you need to show a process, a visual aid can be very effective. But if it's not very effective, it can actually detract from your presentation, so that was probably a good choice.